Okay, so we are looking at our provisional cast on so that we can have an open edge to come back to later on when we want to knit in the other direction and add our beads and finish this project off. That's later on. But I want to show you how an easy way to do this. You do not have to know how to crochet to use this hook, but we're going to just take some scrap yarn, hopefully a different color from what you're using so that it stands out. You will need a knitting needle and a crochet hook, and you're going to, your yarn in this case, because you're practicing, is, remember, bigger so that you can play on something bigger. But when you do your provisional cast on with your batiste, when you start actually knitting your project, you want to have something more like a sport weight or DK weight scrap yarn. You can use an old sock remnant or something else that you have. But in this case, we're just using something a little bigger so we can play. So we're going to start with just a slip knot, and you're going to put your crochet hook into your slip knot, and you're just gonna pull a couple of loops through your slip knot. So we're just grabbing our yarn and pulling it through once, twice, maybe 3 times before we start actually working with this needle. Again, there's nothing special about this. You're just grabbing the yarn and bringing it through the loop, and that's all there is to that. So now you're gonna, this is not hard, but if you've never done it, it might take a little bit of practice. So all I'm doing here is I've got my yarn, my needle over my yarn, my hook and my chains on the right side, my needle going on, my yarn going under my needle, and all I'm going to do is grab the yarn and bring it through the loop. Okay, the first couple are a little odd, so I'm going to take my yarn back behind the needle and grab it and bring it through the loop. So now you can see that I'm starting to put stitches on the needle. So I'm going to put the yarn to the back again, and come through the loop. I'm going to put my yarn to the back, grab it, and come through the loop. I'm going to move my stitches back a little bit, put my yarn to the back of the needle, grab it, and come through the loop. So each one of these on here is an actual stitch. Yarn to the back, grab it, bring it through the loop. Yarn to the back, grab it, bring it through the loop. When I need more space, I just back up a little bit so I can start stacking more stitches on. I move my yarn to the back, grab it, bring it through the loop. So whatever your stitches are, so in this case, if we're casting on 111 or 115, I'm actually going to give myself more stitches than I need. I'm going to put a few extra here. I'm going to do the 111 or whatever the call for is, and then here I'm going to go to the back, put this on, go to the back, grab it, put this through, go to the back. Once you've had a few of these stitches on, it gets a little bit easier to manage everything. So just take your time, and it's like the first time you knit socks and the yarn was really small and the needles were really small. This is really no different than that. You just have to get used to it. So let's say I'm at the end and I've got all my stitches. I'm actually just going to chain a couple more, but not on the needle. So I'm just chaining a few to get away from my stitches. Okay, so you can see I'm back off, and I'm just going to take my yarn and I'm going to bring it through. I'm just going to pull it all the way through. So I don't want to pull this tight because I want to be able to undo this later. Over here we have a slip knot, so that's more of a knot, but we're gonna later on when we need to, we'll be able to just pull this strand of yarn back out and all of this will just undo. So now all you're gonna do, let me grab a different yarn. Hold on one second. So now all you would do is you come in with whatever yarn you're wanting to start with, your yarn, and you're just going to go into the first stitch on the needle and you're going to start your work. Now your first stitch will be a little loose because your first 5 stitches are going to be garter stitch. I'm knitting with both the tail and the working yarn to work my tail in a little bit. 4, 5, and then you would start your pattern, so your lace pattern in the book, and you would just get it started here and you would start to see your work. This is your actual work, this is your scrap yarn and what you would be letting go of later. And that's all there is to it. Thanks.